My name is Jan Harrison, 34 years old and living what I thought was a meaningful life. I had worked my way up from nothing to become the financial backbone of my entire family. My sister, brother, even my parents relied on my monthly support. I believed that was love, that family meant having each other's backs. Then came that accidental phone call last Thanksgiving. If you're watching this from a family gathering, hit like and subscribe, because this story might save you years of heartache I wish someone had spared me. Growing up as the middle child in the Harrison family meant I always felt caught between worlds. Our small 3-bedroom house in suburban Michigan was crowded with 5 people and constant financial worry. Dad worked at the auto plant with inconsistent hours, and Mom picked up waitressing shifts when bills piled too high. There was never enough money, but there was always enough blame to go around when anything went wrong. From my earliest memories, family loyalty was preached like gospel in our house. Blood is thicker than water, Mom would say whenever I complained about my siblings. Family is all you have in this world, Dad would remind us during his lectures about sticking together. These weren't just sayings in our house. They were commandments. My older brother Kyle was 7 years my senior. Athletic and charming, he was the golden child until his gambling started in high school. Small bets on football games gradually evolved into serious poker debts by the time he was 20. Still, my parents always found ways to excuse his behavior. "He's just going through a phase," they'd say, even as they emptied their meager savings to cover his latest mistake. Then there was Amanda, my younger sister by 3 years. Beautiful, social, and perpetually in need of rescue. While I wore second-hand clothes and worked part-time jobs since age 15, Amanda somehow always had new outfits and time for cheerleading practice. "Your sister is sensitive," Mom would explain when Amanda was exempted from chores or responsibilities that fell to me. "She needs extra support." Meanwhile, I discovered early that academic success was my ticket out. I studied relentlessly, earning scholarships that my guidance counselor helped me apply for since my parents were too busy with Kyle's latest crisis or Amanda's social calendar. The day my full scholarship letter to State University arrived should have been celebrated. Instead, it became another family drama when Amanda had a fight with her boyfriend that same evening. "Can't you see we're dealing with something important?" Mom had snapped when I tried to share my news during dinner. The letter remained on the refrigerator, unread by anyone but me. College became my sanctuary. Working 2 campus jobs while maintaining a 4.0 GPA wasn't easy, but it was peaceful compared to home. No one asking for money I didn't have. No one making me feel guilty for pursuing my dreams. I graduated with honors in finance, landing an entry-level position at a prestigious firm in Chicago. When I called to share the news, Dad's first question was, "How much will you be making?" Not congratulations. Not pride. Just calculation. The pattern started small. Kyle needed $2,000 to pay off a guy who might hurt him, just 3 months after I started working. "Just this once," he promised, eyes sincere as they had been for every broken promise before. I transferred the money, telling myself it was an investment in family peace. A month later, Amanda's car broke down. Another $1,000 I couldn't really spare from my entry-level salary and student apartment. Then Mom needed dental work not covered by insurance. Dad's truck required repairs. Each time, the request came wrapped in family obligation. "We've always taken care of each other," Mom would remind me. "You're the successful one now," Dad would add, as though my hard work somehow obligated me to fund their lives. Over the years, as I climbed the corporate ladder at Meridian Financial, the requests grew alongside my salary. When I became a junior financial advisor at 27, Kyle needed startup money for a business idea that never materialized. When I made senior advisor at 30, Amanda needed help with a down payment on a condo she eventually lost to foreclosure anyway. Each family gathering became an opportunity for them to assess my success and calculate what it meant for them. "That's a nice watch," Dad would notice. Things must be going well. The subtext was always clear. "You have more than you need while we're struggling." I created a budget line labeled Family Support that grew from 15% of my income to nearly 30% over the years. I told myself this was normal, that this was what successful family members did. After all, I had the education, the career, the stability they never managed to achieve. The truth I didn't admit to myself was how deeply the resentment was growing. How I'd cancel lunch with colleagues to take Amanda's panic calls about overdue bills. How I postponed my own condo purchase for years because Kyle needed bail money after a bar fight. How I worked overtime to afford parents' mortgage payments when Dad decided to retire early. Due to back pain, no doctor could verify. Last year, I finally purchased a modest 2-bedroom condo in a nice Chicago neighborhood. When I shared photos in our family group chat, the responses were telling. "Must be nice to have so much space for just one person," Amanda texted. "Looks expensive," was Kyle's contribution. "We're so proud you can afford such luxury," Mom wrote, the word luxury cutting deep when I knew I had chosen something well below what my salary could afford specifically, because so much went to them. Thanksgiving plans, last year, followed the usual pattern. I would fund the elaborate meal at my parents' house, sending money for the turkey, sides, and Mom's traditional excessive decorations. Everyone would pretend my financial contribution wasn't the reason the gathering could happen at all. I would fly in from Chicago, bearing additional gifts because it was expected. Except this time, a major client emergency erupted the day before Thanksgiving. As senior advisor on the account, I couldn't delegate. "Family would understand," my boss said when approving the overtime pay. I knew better but accepted the inevitable guilt trip as I called Mom to deliver the news. "We've been planning this for months, Jan," she said, though we both knew the planning had consisted of a group text 3 weeks earlier. "Amanda and Kyle are both coming. The whole family will be together except you." "I'm sorry, Mom. This client represents millions in managed assets. I can't jeopardize that. I suppose your job is more important than family now," she sighed, the familiar manipulation settling over me like a weighted blanket. I doubled the money I sent for Thanksgiving dinner as penance and promised to make Christmas extra special. The understanding I hoped for never came, just stony disappointment and the unspoken accusation of betrayal. As I hung up the phone, I couldn't have known that missing Thanksgiving would be the accident that finally opened my eyes to the truth about my family. Sometimes the most painful revelations come when we least expect them, wrapped in moments we never anticipated would change everything. Thanksgiving Day found me alone in my office on the 32nd floor of a downtown Chicago skyscraper. Outside my window, the city sparkled under early holiday lights, families gathered in apartments visible across the darkness. Inside, I sat surrounded by spreadsheets and financial projections, the steady click of my keyboard the only sound breaking the silence. I had ordered a sad approximation of Thanksgiving dinner from the only delivery place, open a turkey sandwich with cranberry sauce on the side. The sandwich sat half-eaten on my desk as I worked, trying to ignore the hollow feeling in my chest. This was the first Thanksgiving I'd missed since college. Despite the complicated feelings I had about family gatherings, I felt the absence keenly. At exactly 6:43 that evening, my phone lit up with Amanda's name and photo. I felt a rush of warmth, thinking perhaps they were calling to include me in the dinner virtually. Maybe they missed me after all. "Hello," I answered, pushing away from my desk. "Amanda." No response came, just muffled sounds of conversation and laughter in the background. I tried again. "Hello. Can you guys hear me?" Nothing direct, but I could make out voices now, the familiar cadence of my family in full gathering mode. I realized it was an accidental pocket, dial the kind that happens when someone sits on their phone or bumps the wrong button in their pocket or purse. I was about to hang up when I heard my name. Clear, distinct, cutting through the ambient noise. "Jan's probably sitting alone in that fancy office of hers," my mother's voice, slightly slurred from the wine that always accompanied holiday meals. "Working on Thanksgiving." "Who does that?" Kyle's deeper tone, dismissive. I should have hung up. Something kept my finger hovering over the red button, unable to disconnect. She's always working, Amanda chimed in. Finance this, investment that. Her voice shifted into a mocking imitation of mine. Amanda, you really need to set up an emergency fund. Amanda, credit card debt is destroying your future. The cruel mimicry sent a chill through me. I'd never heard my sister speak in that tone before, not directed at me, at least. The laughter that followed her performance cut deeper than any criticism. She does love telling everyone how to live, my father joined in. Always holding the money over our heads. Like we should be grateful she helps out, Kyle added. After all we did for her growing up. What exactly had they done for me? I wondered, my knuckles white around the phone. Ignored my accomplishments. Taken my financial support for granted. Created an environment where I felt obligated to fund their poor choices. Then came the line that would replay in my mind for months afterward. She's nothing without us, Amanda said clearly, followed by a chorus of agreeing laughter. Jan thinks she's so successful, but what does she have? No husband, no kids, no real life. Just a job and a checkbook we benefit from. The casual cruelty stole my breath. These were the people I'd sacrificed for, the family I believed loved me despite our differences. Hearing them speak about me with such contempt while eating the meal I had paid for was almost incomprehensible. Speaking of her checkbook, Amanda continued, thank God she covered my rent last month. That shopping weekend in New York would have been impossible otherwise. Shopping weekend. She had told me the money was for an emergency plumbing repair. The lie shouldn't have shocked me, but somehow it still did. Is she still sending you monthly transfers? My mother asked. Like clockwork, Amanda replied. $2,000 on the 5th every month. More if I call crying about some emergency. They laughed again, the sound now grotesque to my ears. We should talk to her about Christmas, my father said, shifting topics. The roof needs work, and Kyle's thinking about that new truck. She'll do it, Kyle said confidently. Just tell her it's for family security or something. Jan loves feeling needed. She gets this little glow when she thinks she's rescuing us, Amanda added. It's almost too easy. Remember when she tried to give us financial advice at Easter? My mother said through what sounded like a mouthful of food. As if we need her lectures when what we need is her money. I just tune her out, Kyle admitted. Nod and agree, then ask for a loan. It's not even really a loan, Amanda said. She has to know we're never paying any of it back. My stomach lurched. Of course I knew, on some level. I had carefully labeled each transfer as a gift in my own financial records, telling myself it was what family did for each other. Hearing them acknowledge the manipulation so casually made me physically ill. Sometimes I wonder if she suspects how we talk about her, my father mused. Jan. No way, Amanda dismissed the concern. She's so desperate for family approval, she'd fund our entire lives without question. To Jan, Kyle said, and I heard the clink of glasses. The golden goose who's never figured out she's being plucked. More laughter, more cutting remarks. I sat frozen, tears streaming down my face as they dissected my character, my choices, my naivety. Every holiday gift I'd given analyzed for its monetary value rather than sentiment. Every piece of advice I'd offered mocked as pretension. Every sacrifice I'd made recast as a pathetic attempt to buy love. The worst realization wasn't just that they spoke about me this way. It was the dawning understanding that this wasn't new. This wasn't a one-time venting session fueled by holiday stress and alcohol. This was how they always talked about me when I wasn't there to hear it. The comfortable familiarity in their tones told me everything. Wait, Amanda's voice suddenly cut through the others, closer to the phone now. Is my phone on? Did I call someone? A moment of silence. Oh shit, she muttered. I think I might have called Jan. The call ended abruptly. I sat in my ergonomic office chair, surrounded by the trappings of the career I'd built, staring at the dark screen of my phone. My hands were shaking so badly, I had to set the device down on my desk. The half-eaten turkey sandwich mocked me from its wrapper, cranberry sauce congealing at the edges. For several minutes, I couldn't move. The physical symptoms came in waves: dizziness, nausea, a strange ringing in my ears. My heart pounded so hard, I could feel my pulse in my fingertips. This, I would later learn, was the body's natural response to profound betrayal, a neurobiological reaction as real as any physical injury. Outside my office window, Chicago continued its Thanksgiving celebrations, oblivious to the fact that my entire understanding of family had just imploded in 37 devastating minutes of accidental eavesdropping. The drive home from my office that night exists in my memory as disconnected fragments. Traffic lights blurring through tears. The radio playing cheerful holiday commercials that seemed to come from another dimension. My phone lighting up with texts I couldn't bear to read. By the time I reached my condo, I had missed 6 calls from Amanda and 3 from my mother. A group text from Dad asked why I wasn't answering on Thanksgiving. The casual normalcy of their messages, as if the call had never happened, made everything worse. I silenced my phone, dropped it on my kitchen counter, and stood in the darkness of my living room. The space I had been so proud to purchase now felt hollow, its careful decorations and comfortable furniture suddenly meaningless. How many paychecks had gone to my family instead of building this home sooner? How many times had I downsized my dreams to accommodate their demands? Sleep was impossible. I paced until 3 in the morning, fragments of the conversation replaying in endless loops. She's nothing without us, the golden goose being plucked, it's almost too easy. When exhaustion finally claimed me, it was a restless, nightmare-filled sleep on my couch, still wearing my work clothes. Morning brought no relief. My phone showed 17 notifications, each one making my stomach clench. I couldn't face them yet. Instead, I called in sick to work for the first time in 7 years. "Are you all right, Jan?" my boss asked, genuine concern in his voice. "You never miss work." "Just a 24-hour bug," I lied, my voice rough from crying. "I should be fine by Monday." "Take care of yourself," he said before hanging up. Such simple kindness nearly broke me again. With the day stretching emptily ahead, I did something I'd never allowed myself before. I began calculating exactly what my family had cost me, not just emotionally, but financially. I retrieved a locked file box from my office closet where I kept all financial records. Inside were folders meticulously labeled by year, each containing records of every loan and gift to my family members. I had always been organized with money, even when giving it away. At my dining table, I created a spreadsheet. Each family member got a column. Each year a row. I entered every dollar I could document, from the first $2,000 to Kyle after college to yesterday's Thanksgiving dinner money. The total made me physically recoil from the screen. $175,432 over 10 years. Nearly enough for a house down payment in a good Chicago neighborhood. More than enough to have fully funded my retirement accounts every year. A life-changing amount that had disappeared into the black hole of my family's endless needs. But the money wasn't what hurt most. It was calculating what those dollars represented in my life. The promotion to senior advisor I'd worked 80-hour weeks to achieve, not for my own advancement, but to increase what I could give them. The vacation days spent helping Amanda move after another breakup, rather than taking actual vacations. The dating relationship with Michael that had fizzled because I was always rushing off to handle family emergencies. I thought about Tara, my closest friend from college, who had gradually drifted away after too many canceled plans and concerning observations about my family dynamic. "They take advantage of you, Jan," she had said during our last real conversation 3 years ago. "They don't appreciate anything you do." I had defended them fiercely, ending the friendship rather than examining her words. Now I wondered what else Tara had seen that I had been blind to. As I stared at the spreadsheet, my phone chimed with a text. Amanda, acting as if nothing had happened. "Hey sis, hate to ask, but can you help with my car payment this month? Got some unexpected expenses. Love you." The casual entitlement, the transparent manipulation, The blatant lie after I had heard her boast about her New York shopping spree, it all hit me at once. I ran to the bathroom and threw up, my body physically rejecting the reality I had finally been forced to see. In the shower afterward, under water hot enough to turn my skin red, I finally broke down completely. Great, heaving sobs that seemed to come from some primal place inside me. I cried for the little girl who had always tried to earn the love that her siblings received freely. I cried for the young woman who had achieved success, only to have it drained away by people who mocked her for it. I cried for all the years I had twisted myself into someone who could be used while believing she was needed. The water ran cold before I stepped out, wrapping myself in the plush towel I had bought on clearance despite being able to afford better, because so much of my income went elsewhere. As I dressed in comfortable weekend clothes, I felt something shift inside me. The devastation was still there, but alongside it grew something new and unfamiliar. Anger. Not the flashes of irritation I had always suppressed for family harmony, but a deep, clarifying fury. They had taken my money while mocking my success. They had pretended to value my advice while laughing at my concerns. They had accepted my sacrifices while belittling my choices. And I had let them. That Thanksgiving weekend became a period of mourning for the family I thought I had, and the gradual awakening to the family that actually existed. I didn't answer calls or texts, each notification strengthening my resolve rather than weakening it. By Sunday night, I had made a decision. I wouldn't confront them immediately. That would only trigger defensive reactions and manipulative tactics I now recognized too well. Instead, I would use the Harrison family's most treasured holiday, Christmas, to reveal the truth I now possessed. I needed evidence beyond my word against theirs. I needed to understand the full scope of their betrayal. Most importantly, I needed a plan that would finally free me from the emotional and financial prison I had helped build around myself. For the first time in my adult life, I put myself first. The sensation was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. The Monday after Thanksgiving, I returned to work with a focus my colleagues noticed immediately. "You look different, Jan," my assistant remarked. "More intense." "I had some realizations over the holiday," I replied, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. "Things I need to address." My professional skills as a financial advisor proved unexpectedly useful for the personal investigation I was about to conduct. I was trained to look for patterns, to analyze discrepancies, to follow money trails to their logical conclusions. Now I would apply those same skills to understanding my family. That evening, I began with social media. I had always been a passive observer of my family's online presence, occasionally liking photos, but rarely examining the narratives they presented. Now I scrolled methodically through months of posts, saving screenshots that contradicted the stories they had told me. Amanda's Instagram revealed the emergency plumbing repair weekend had actually been a lavish girls' trip to New York, complete with Broadway shows and shopping bags from designers I couldn't afford to browse. "Self-care is essential," she had captioned a photo of champagne in a hotel room with a view of Central Park. Self-care funded entirely by me. Kyle's Facebook showed a new car purchased in September, the same month he had called in tears about potentially being evicted if I couldn't help with rent. "Upgraded the ride," he had posted, posing proudly beside a vehicle that cost at least $30,000. My parents' more modest social media still held surprises. Photos of a kitchen renovation I had known nothing about, despite sending them roof repair money that summer. Pictures from a week-long vacation to Florida that February, when they had told me they couldn't afford their heating bill. Each discovery felt like another small betrayal, pieces of a puzzle forming a picture I had refused to see for years. The next day, I contacted my bank. As a financial professional, I had meticulous records, but I wanted official documentation of every transfer I had made to family members over the years. The customer service representative seemed concerned by my request. "That's a lot of outgoing transfers, Ms. Harrison," she noted. "Were some of these unauthorized?" "No," I admitted, "just unappreciated." While waiting for the bank records, I discovered something even more disturbing. A credit card statement arrived for an account I had cosigned for Amanda 3 years earlier. She had promised to use it only for emergencies and to make all payments herself. Instead, the card was maxed out at $15,000, minimum payments barely made each month. Purchases included clothing, restaurants, concert tickets, none of which qualified as emergencies by any definition. My investigation expanded beyond financial matters. I found the journal I had kept sporadically over the years and read entries with new understanding. Mom seemed disappointed with the birthday gift I sent, though it cost half my bonus. I had written 2 years ago. Kyle asked for money again today. Felt guilty saying I needed time to think about it, from a year before that. The pattern was clear in my own words, though I had never connected the dots. Give and feel unappreciated, set a boundary and feel guilty, repeat endlessly. I needed an outside perspective from someone who knew my family, but wasn't entangled in their web. After much deliberation, I reached out to Tara, my estranged college friend. "Jan Harrison," she said when she answered my call. "It's been a while." "Too long," I admitted. "I owe you an apology." "For what?" "For not listening when you tried to warn me about my family." The pause on the other end spoke volumes. "Something happened," she finally said. It wasn't a question. Over coffee at a neutral cafe halfway between our homes, I told Tara everything: the accidental call, the investigation, the years of manipulation I was finally acknowledging. She listened without interruption, her expression shifting between sympathy and vindication. "I'm not happy to be right," she said when I finished. "But I'm glad you finally heard it for yourself." "Were there things you noticed that I didn't?" I asked. "Things you didn't tell me because I was so defensive." Tara sighed, stirring her latte. "Many. Your brother telling people at your graduation party that your job offer came through his connections, not your grades. Your sister taking credit for Christmas gifts you sent your parents. The way they all rolled their eyes behind your back when you offered financial advice. Each revelation was another weight on my chest. Why didn't I see it? Because you wanted a loving family so badly you were willing to pay any price for the illusion of one," Tara said gently. "And they knew it." That night, I consulted a therapist who specialized in family dynamics and financial abuse. Dr. Lauren Cohen listened to my abbreviated story with professional detachment that somehow made it easier to tell. "What you're describing is a classic pattern of financial exploitation within families," she explained. "Often, it centers around the most responsible or successful family member, who is simultaneously envied and relied upon." "How do I break the pattern?" I asked. "With clear boundaries and the understanding that real love doesn't come with a price tag," she replied. "But be prepared for significant resistance. Systems of dysfunction fight hard to maintain themselves." Armed with this warning, I met with my financial advisor the following week. Martin had helped me build my investment portfolio over years, always puzzled by the large, family support line in my budget that prevented more aggressive saving. "You want to completely separate your finances from your family's," he repeated, making sure he understood. "All automatic transfers stopped, all cosigned accounts closed or transferred solely to their names." "Yes," I confirmed. "And I need to know exactly what that entails." Martin outlined the steps. "Removing myself from Amanda's credit card would damage my credit score, but protect me from future liability. Canceling automatic transfers was straightforward. The trickier aspects involved joint accounts with my parents that had been established years ago for emergency access, but had become regular sources of funds for them. This won't be simple emotionally," Martin cautioned, "but financially it's the right move. You've been subsidizing financial irresponsibility at the expense of your own security." By mid-December, 2 weeks after the accidental call, I had compiled a comprehensive dossier. Bank statements, credit reports, social media screenshots, text message logs showing patterns of requests and excuses. I recorded a statement of everything I had heard on the Thanksgiving call, while the memory remained fresh. Most significantly, I prepared a spreadsheet documenting every dollar given to each family member, categorized by stated purpose versus discovered actual use when evidence existed. The visual impact of the data was undeniable. The final piece came when I hadn't been looking for it. While searching for an old photo, I found a Christmas card Amanda had sent me 3 years ago. Inside, she had written, "To my amazing sister who keeps us all afloat. Don't know what we'd do without you. All my love." The contrast between this sentiment and "she's nothing without us" crystallized everything I had learned. The card joined my evidence file. As Christmas approached, I confirmed my attendance at the family gathering at my parents' house. I arranged for time off, bought plane tickets, and even ordered gifts extravagant as always, but with new significance I kept to myself. I maintained minimal contact with family during this preparation period, citing work demands when they pushed for more attention or financial help. Their increasing panic as their regular support temporarily decreased was telling. Not one inquiry about my well-being, just concern about when the money would flow again. 3 days before Christmas, I finalized my approach with Dr. Cohen. "Remember, the goal isn't punishment," she reminded me. "It's establishing healthy boundaries for your future." "What if there is no future with them?" I asked, voicing my deepest fear. "Then that's valuable information too," she said gently. "Real family, healthy family supports your growth, not just your giving." The night before my flight home, I packed my evidence along with my clothes and gifts. For the first time in years, I felt nervous about a family gathering, but it wasn't the familiar anxiety of never being enough. Instead, it was the calm determination of someone finally ready to speak her truth. Whatever happened at Christmas, I knew my life would never be the same afterward. The knowledge was both terrifying and liberating. The golden goose was about to stop producing, and I needed to be prepared for the chaos that would follow. The Harrison family Christmas had always followed a predictable script. My parents' modest home would be transformed with decorations I largely funded. Gifts would pile under the tree, the most expensive invariably from me. Dinner would feature my mother's traditional recipes, prepared with ingredients purchased through my special holiday transfer labeled Christmas Magic. This year, everything looked the same on the surface. The artificial tree sparkled with ornaments collected over decades. The familiar scent of cinnamon and pine filled the air. Christmas music played softly from the speakers I had bought last year as a family gift. Only I had changed. I arrived with clear eyes and a reinforced spine, observing the dynamics I had previously participated in blindly. "Jan," my mother embraced me at the door, her perfume overwhelming. "We missed you at Thanksgiving." "Work emergency," I replied, watching her face for any sign of discomfort about the phone call. "Nothing registered." Kyle clapped me on the shoulder as I entered the living room. "The money maker has arrived," he joked, the comment landing differently in my ears now. Amanda hung back slightly, the only indication that she remembered the accidental call. When she hugged me, it was quick and accompanied by a whispered, "Got your gift in my car. You're going to love it." The first few hours unfolded according to tradition. We drank eggnog, reminisced about childhood Christmases, and avoided any topics of substance. I participated on autopilot, part of me detached and observing, noting each instance of what I now recognized as manipulation. The subtle comments started during appetizers. "Jan, that's a beautiful sweater," my mother remarked. "Must have been expensive." "Your condo must be so quiet compared to our busy house," my father added. "Lonely during the holidays." Each comment designed to remind me of my outsider status, my difference from the warm family unit they pretended to be. Each intended to make me feel I needed to pay for inclusion. Amanda's tactics were more direct. "I can't wait for you to see what I got you," she said for the third time. "It's not as nice as what you always give us, but it's heartfelt." Preemptively managing expectations while heightening obligation. Classic Amanda. The gift exchange revealed patterns I had never fully acknowledged. My parents received my gift cards for a weekend at a luxury hotel with obvious calculation rather than gratitude. "This will be perfect for our anniversary," Mom said, already spending the experience in her mind. Kyle's response to the high-end winter coat I had chosen was to immediately check the brand and nod appreciatively at the status it represented. "This is what the executives wear at the firm's downtown," he noted, placing it carefully aside. Amanda made a show of emotion over the designer purse she had hinted about for months, hugging me repeatedly. "You always know exactly what I want," she gushed, already transferring items from her current bag. Their gifts to me told the real story. A scarf from my parents that still had the clearance tag partially attached. A generic gift basket of bath products from Kyle, clearly purchased at the last minute. Amanda's promised special gift turned out to be a framed photo of the two of us from years ago, placed in a dollar store frame. The disparity would have hurt before. Now it merely confirmed what I already knew. Dinner conversation revealed more as everyone relaxed with wine. Amanda mentioned a beach vacation she was planning for February. Kyle discussed the business opportunity he was researching, his eyes sliding to me when he mentioned startup costs. My parents talked about their upcoming anniversary, strategically after thanking me again for the hotel gift cards. I tested the waters by mentioning a potential restructuring at my firm. "There might be some salary adjustments coming," I said vaguely. "The market's been unpredictable." The reaction was immediate. My mother's hand froze midway to her wine glass. Kyle stopped chewing. Amanda's smile became fixed. "Adjustments meaning increases, right?" Kyle asked, trying to sound casual. "For someone at your level." "Not necessarily," I replied, watching their expressions carefully. "Budget cuts are happening everywhere." "But you're too valuable for them to cut," my mother insisted, panic barely concealed behind her smile. "You're practically running that department." Not one of them asked if I was worried. Not one expressed concern for my job security or stress levels. Their only thought was for how it might affect their supply line. "I'm sure it will work out," I said, changing the subject and watching them visibly relax. After dinner, I excused myself to use the bathroom, deliberately taking longer than necessary. As I returned down the hallway, I heard Amanda and my mother in hushed conversation in the kitchen. "Do you think she suspects anything from Thanksgiving?" Amanda asked. "She'd have said something by now," Mom replied. "Jan's never been able to hide her feelings." "Good, because I really need her help with the condo association fees next month. They're raising rates again. Your father and I were counting on her for the property tax payment too. It's due in February." "She'll do it," Amanda assured her. "Jan always comes through. She'd never let family down." I stood frozen in the hallway, their casual exploitation laid bare. The final confirmation I needed that nothing would change unless I changed it myself. Returning to the dining room, I found Kyle and my father discussing Kyle's latest business idea, a food truck concept that would only need about 20 grand to get started. "Jan's got the capital," my father was saying. "And it would be an investment in family." "I was thinking of asking her tonight," Kyle replied. "After she's had a few more glasses of wine." I cleared my throat, making my presence known. Both men smiled at me without shame or embarrassment. "There she is," my father said warmly. "We were just talking about what a blessing you are to this family." The familiar words hit differently now. Blessing. Resource. ATM. They were interchangeable in the Harrison family vocabulary. When Amanda returned with dessert and coffee, she sat beside me on the couch, casually mentioning her upcoming rent was due. "I hate to even bring it up on Christmas, but I'm a little short this month. About 800. Could you help a sister out?" It was the opening I had been waiting for. The request so normal, so expected, that my refusal would necessarily open the conversation I had been preparing for. "Actually, Amanda," I said, meeting her eyes directly, "I don't think I can help with that. Or any other financial requests going forward." The room went silent. Coffee cups paused midway to mouths. Eyes widened in collective shock. "What do you mean?" Amanda asked, her voice small. "I think you know exactly what I mean," I replied, standing up. "I think you all do." especially after Thanksgiving. And with that simple statement, Christmas as we had always known it was over. The confrontation I had planned for so carefully had begun, and there would be no going back to the comfortable exploitation that had defined our family for years. The silence that followed my statement stretched for several heartbeats, broken finally by Amanda's nervous laugh. A Thanksgiving. What are you talking about? Her eyes darted to our parents, seeking support. I walked to my overnight bag in the corner, retrieving my laptop. I think we need to have an honest conversation, I said, my voice steadier than I'd expected. About family, about money, and about respect. Jan, it's Christmas, my mother protested. Whatever this is about, can it wait until tomorrow? It's waited for 10 years, I replied. I think we can spare 30 minutes now. I opened my laptop on the coffee table, pulling up an audio file I'd prepared. Without further explanation, I pressed play. Amanda's voice filled the room, clear and unmistakable. She's nothing without us. Then my mother. Jan loves feeling needed. Kyle's contribution. The golden goose who's never figured out she's being plucked. The recording continued for 2 excruciating minutes, a greatest hits compilation of their Thanksgiving mockery. I watched their faces transform from confusion to recognition to horror. You recorded us, Kyle demanded when I finally paused the playback. No, I corrected. Amanda accidentally called me during Thanksgiving dinner. I heard everything you said about me while eating the meal I paid for. We were just joking around, Amanda tried, her expression frantic. It didn't mean anything. People joke about things they truly believe, I countered. But this isn't just about hurtful words. It's about years of financial exploitation. I opened the spreadsheet I had prepared, connecting my laptop to the television so everyone could see the numbers clearly. Each column showed a family member's name. Each row represented money transferred, with dates and stated purposes. $175,432, I said, letting the figure hang in the air. That's how much I've given this family over 10 years. Not loaned. Given. Because we all know repayment was never the intention. You're our daughter, my father said, as if that explained everything. Family helps family. Family doesn't mock family behind their backs, I replied. Family doesn't lie about emergencies to fund shopping trips. I clicked to a slide showing Amanda's Instagram posts alongside her text messages about emergencies. That's private, Amanda protested. So was the conversation I heard at Thanksgiving, I countered. The difference is I'm being direct with you, not laughing at you with others. Kyle shifted to aggression, his usual response when cornered. You had no right to spy on us or track our spending. That money was given freely. Given under false pretenses, I clarified. And I had every right to understand where my hard-earned money was actually going. I clicked through slides showing Kyle's new car purchased the same month he claimed potential eviction. My parents' kitchen renovation funded by roof repair, money. Amanda's credit card statements showing frivolous spending on an account I had cosigned. You've all been living beyond your means using me as a safety net, I said. Which might have been sustainable if you'd shown any appreciation or respect. Instead, you resented my success while depending on it. After all we've done for you, my mother began, tears forming. The familiar guilt tactic that had worked countless times before. What exactly have you done for me? I asked quietly. I put myself through college. I built my career without connections or support. I've been giving far more than I've received since graduation. We raised you, my father said indignantly. You provided basic necessities, yes, for which I've repaid you many times over. I turned to a new slide showing the mortgage payments I'd made on their house, including $47,000 toward this house over the past 5 years. The evidence was overwhelming, and I watched as their strategies shifted in real time. Amanda began crying softly, always her go-to manipulation. Kyle's jaw clenched as he calculated new angles of attack. My parents exchanged glances, silently communicating their next approach. We're sorry if you felt unappreciated, my mother finally said, choosing her words carefully. We never meant to hurt you. We're proud of your success. Proud enough to mock it behind my back, I asked. To call me nothing without you. To laugh about how easy it is to manipulate me for money. People say things they don't mean when they're together, Kyle tried. It's just blowing off steam. The words revealed the truth, I insisted. But they're not why I'm here having this conversation. I'm here because I'm done being the family ATM. I outlined my decision clearly. No more financial support of any kind. No mortgage help, no rent payments, no car loans, no credit card bailouts. Each family member would need to live within their actual means. You can't just cut us off, Amanda protested, panic rising in her voice. My rent is due next week. You make $45,000 a year, Amanda. Your rent is $1,200 a month. The math works if you stop the shopping sprees and restaurant meals. What about my business idea? Kyle demanded. I've been counting on your investment. You've had 6 business ideas in 8 years. I've funded 3 of them. None lasted 6 months because you weren't actually committed to the work required. My mother shifted strategies again, trying to drive a wedge between me and my siblings. Maybe we've asked too much, but your brother and sister really do need your help. Your father and I can manage. Can you? I pulled up their mortgage statement. Because you're 3 months behind on payments, I thought I was making for you. Where did that money go? Their silence was answer enough. This isn't working for any of us, I continued. You resent me while depending on me. I enable financial irresponsibility while seeking approval I never receive. The cycle ends today. You're destroying this family, my father accused. I'm trying to save it, I countered. A relationship built on financial exploitation isn't healthy for anyone. As my family began to realize I was serious, their responses splintered. Amanda turned on our parents. You always taught us Jan would help with everything. You created this situation. Kyle revealed secrets in his desperation. Dad's been gambling too, Jan. That's where some of your money went. Mom knew but covered for him. My parents blamed me for enabling their poor choices, somehow twisting my generosity into a character flaw. I let them fight among themselves, watching the dysfunctional system implode when its central resource was removed. The accusations, the tears, the blame shifting all confirmed I was making the right decision. When they exhausted themselves, I outlined my terms for any potential future relationship. Complete financial separation, acknowledgement of past manipulation, and respect for boundaries going forward. If they wanted me in their lives, it would be as a daughter and sister, not as a financial resource. What if we need help with genuine emergencies? My mother asked weakly. I've provided resources for each of you, I replied, distributing folders I had prepared. Inside were referrals to financial advisors who specialized in debt management, budget planning worksheets, and information on credit counseling services. These people can help you create sustainable financial plans based on your actual incomes. Amanda flipped through her folder with disdain. Budgeting worksheets? Seriously? It's more help than I received when learning to manage money, I pointed out. I'm giving you tools, not cash. That's actual support. Kyle hadn't opened his folder, instead watching me with narrowed eyes. So that's it. You're just cutting us off because of one conversation you overheard. I'm establishing healthy boundaries because of patterns I've observed for years, I corrected. The conversation just removed my blinders. My parents sat shell-shocked, holding hands on the couch that had been their neutral territory in family conflicts for decades. What do we tell people? My mother finally asked, concern for appearances typical of her priorities. Whatever you want, I replied. The truth might be refreshing, but I don't expect it. I began gathering my belongings, planning to leave for a hotel I had booked as a contingency. The Christmas gathering was clearly over. You're leaving? Amanda asked incredulously. It's Christmas night. I need space from this situation, I explained. I've said what I needed to say and provided information to help everyone move forward. What happens next is up to each of you. You always run away when things get difficult, my father accused, a final attempt at manipulation. I paused at the door, overnight bag in hand. Actually, this is the first time I've faced our family's dysfunction head-on instead of enabling it. Running away would be writing another check to avoid conflict. My mother made one last emotional appeal. We're still your family, Jan. Doesn't that mean anything to you? It means everything to me, I replied honestly. That's why I'm doing this. Real family supports each other's growth, not just financial needs. I hope someday we can build that kind of relationship. I left amid a chorus of protests and recriminations, the sound of my family's anger fading as I walked to my rental car. My phone began buzzing immediately, Amanda pleading, Kyle threatening, my parents attempting guilt from different angles. I silenced the notifications as I drove away from the house, where I'd never felt truly valued. The weight that had pressed on my chest since Thanksgiving eased with each mile. For the first time in my adult life, I had spoken my truth without apology or compromise. That night in my hotel room, I slept peacefully for the first time since the accidental call. Whatever happened next, I had broken the cycle of exploitation that had defined my family relationships for too long. The pain was real, but so was the liberation that came with it. 6 months after that Christmas confrontation, I sat on the balcony of my new condo, watching the summer sunset paint Chicago's skyline in gold and pink. The space around me reflected the changes in my life, larger, brighter, truly mine in every sense. I had upgraded from my modest 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom with a view I'd always wanted, but never felt I deserved to spend money on. The transition hadn't been easy. My family's reaction to financial independence had been predictable, but still difficult to weather. Amanda showed up at my office 2 weeks after Christmas, creating a scene in the reception area that required security intervention. "You're killing us," she had shouted as they escorted her out. "We're your family. You owe us." Kyle took a different approach, sending threatening messages about exposing family secrets or involving me in his financial problems, whether I wanted it or not. "Cost-and loans don't disappear because you're having a tantrum," he texted, referring to old obligations I was already working with lawyers to address. My parents mobilized extended family members who called with concerns about my mental health and sudden personality change. The cousin I hadn't spoken to in 5 years was particularly rich. "Your parents say you've joined some kind of financial cult that's turned you against family." I maintained my boundaries through it all, with help from weekly therapy sessions with Dr. Cohen. "What you're experiencing is extinction burst behavior," she explained during a particularly difficult week. When a reliable source of reinforcement is removed, the behavior seeking that reinforcement initially intensifies before eventually stopping. Tara became my lifeline during this period, offering the genuine friendship I'd neglected for too long. "You know what's amazing?" she said over dinner one night. "Watching you discover how strong you actually are." Gradually, my family's desperate attempts to restore the old dynamic decreased. Amanda found full-time employment when her part-time job couldn't cover her expenses. Kyle, faced with actual consequences for his financial decisions, entered a gambling addiction program through a community resource center. My parents downsized to a smaller house that matched their actual retirement income. These changes weren't my goal, they were natural consequences of financial reality, but they represented the first steps toward potential healthier relationships in the future. At work, colleagues noticed the change in me immediately. Without the constant drain of family emergencies and financial demands, my performance improved enough to earn a director-level promotion by summer. "You're more focused," my boss noted during my review. "More present." I finally took my first real vacation in years, a 2-week trip to Portugal I'd dreamed about but always deferred because the money could help family instead. Walking those historic streets alone, I rediscovered parts of myself that had been buried under obligations and expectations for decades. Dating entered my life again, too. Michael reached out after hearing about my promotion through mutual colleagues. Our coffee meeting revealed a man who had always seen my potential, even when I couldn't. You carried the weight of the world back then, he observed. I could never compete with your family's needs. And now, I asked. Now you seem like someone who knows her own worth, he replied. By midsummer, tentative communication reopened with my family, but on dramatically different terms. Amanda called first, her voice lacking the familiar manipulation tactics. I started therapy, she said after awkward pleasantries. My therapist thinks I've been using you as a substitute for actually growing up. That sounds insightful, I replied cautiously. I'm learning to budget, she continued. It's harder than I thought, but also kind of empowering. I never knew I could actually manage on my salary. We didn't discuss money beyond that. Instead, we talked about her therapy insights, and my work challenges a conversation between equals rather than provider and dependent. Kyle's reconciliation attempt came in the form of an unexpected email. 6 months sober from gambling, he wrote. Part of the program is making amends. I treated you like a safety net instead of a sister. I'm sorry. My parents took longest to adjust, their generational expectations about family obligation deeply ingrained. When we finally met for lunch in a neutral restaurant, my mother seemed genuinely confused. We still don't understand why you couldn't help and maintain relationships, she said. Why did it have to be one or the other? Because the relationships were built on financial dependence, I explained. Without addressing that foundation, nothing could change. We miss you, my father admitted, surprising me with his candor. The money helped, but losing our daughter has been harder than downsizing the house. These were small steps, fragile beginnings of what might become healthier connections. I maintained my boundaries while leaving room for new possibilities. Dr. Cohen called it cautious optimism with protective practices. The most profound changes, however, occurred within me. I discovered that family extended beyond blood relations. Tara introduced me to her friend group, people who supported each other's goals instead of depleting them. I built connections with colleagues based on mutual respect rather than what we could extract from each other. This chosen family celebrated my successes without resentment and supported my struggles without keeping score. The contrast with my biological family was both illuminating and healing. I also learned that generosity means nothing without boundaries. True giving comes from choice, not obligation or manipulation. Now, when I helped others, whether through formal charitable giving or supporting a friend in need, I did so consciously, without expectation or resentment. The accidental phone call that had devastated me at Thanksgiving became, in retrospect, the greatest gift I'd ever received. Without it, I might have continued funding my own exploitation indefinitely, seeking approval that would never come from people who valued my resources more than my presence. Financial freedom revealed emotional freedom. The spreadsheets balancing family support disappeared from my monthly routine. The anxiety about unexpected, emergency calls faded. The constant calculation of how much I could give without completely depleting myself became unnecessary. In their place grew self-trust, authentic relationships, and a peace I hadn't known was possible. That summer evening on my balcony, watching Chicago transition from day to night, I realized I had finally answered the question that had driven my entire adult life. What is my responsibility to family? The answer wasn't financial support or endless sacrifice. It was modeling healthy independence and authentic connection. It was maintaining boundaries that protected my well-being while leaving room for mutual respect. It was recognizing that true family, whatever its composition, supports your growth rather than restricting it for their benefit. Have you ever found yourself giving more than you receive in relationships? Maybe it's financial, like my situation, or perhaps it's emotional labor, time, or constant accommodation of others' needs above your own. If my story resonated with you, please share your experience in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you want to hear more stories about finding strength through difficult family situations. Remember that setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's often the most loving thing you can do for yourself and others. Thank you for listening to my journey. May your own path lead to relationships built on mutual respect rather than obligation or dependence.